You're listening to The Adventuring Party, talking about gaming the Irish way. Cade Mila Vulture, you son of a gun.
Life before death. Strength before weakness. Journey before... I mightn't want to become empowered yet. Welcome to the party. I'm Owen. And it's just Owen. Here to talk about Brandon Sanderson and his Cosmere RPG. Now, unless you're under a rock, you've probably heard that Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive RPG has gone live on Kickstarter. And the first shocking development is, by this stage, 4 days in, it's raised nearly $7 million on Kickstarter. Because Brandon Sanderson has an array of extremely fanatical fans. The second thing it's worth noting is, it's not a Stormlight Archive RPG. It is, in fact, his Cosmere RPG. So, he's got this brand new spanking RPG coming out. And it's not just making a lot of money. It's making a crazy amount of money. $7 million on Kickstarter. With currently, I believe, 23,000 backers. Monster numbers. In the current marketplace, if you get 2,000 backers, you're doing incredibly well. And the most common pledge here, the one that people are monetizing, is, or the one people are really going in for, is 9,000 of those backers have picked up the collector pledge, which has a list price of an eye-watering $385. So what the devil are you getting for that? Well, if you go in for the collector, you are getting basically 16 different items, including multiple different hardback books. Because this is the genius of this one. This is not just an RPG. The books here include world guides, which include the first officially canonized art for Stormlight Archive stuff. In addition to doing the Stormlight Archive world guide, he's also doing a Mistborn world guide. So those are two of his big settings, which are in fact part of the same setting. Spoilers, but they're part of the same setting ultimately. So we're talking about somebody who's making massive amounts of money on this one. You're talking like this is a level above nearly every other RPG Kickstarter because he's drawn in his regular fan base as well. But they're getting everything. They're buying the RPG here. So he's managed to make an awful lot of money here. An awful lot of money. Now people are going, so what's one of the PDFs going to run me? They're going to run me $20 each? No. There is not basically a cheap and cheerful option. These PDFs are running at about $30 a book. Now people are going, to the fainting couch. Guys, we got to start paying more for our RPG books if we want people writing RPGs to get any slice of the cash at all. I'll be interested actually to find out later on how much they're paying per word. Is he paying industry or is he paying significantly more than industry? I think with Brandon Sanderson, he's probably paying more than the industry standard, which is poverty wages. So I'm very interested to hear what he's put together with regards to this. But we're talking serious amounts of money are being splashed out here by the fan base. They will spend for his stuff. He's run back once for limited edition hardcover releases of his books. And you're talking similar amounts of money. He did his 4 novels across the year, and he did a pack where you got basically like a loot box every month, and people went in for that. And for what they got, there's a lot of, it wasn't just that. It was like there was cool stuff in there. So he's got form here. People know his stuff is going to deliver. But we are talking amazing amounts of money being generated here. So if you go in and you want, and I just PDFs, well, you can go in. You basically can pick this an e-reader tier. You get the PDFs. But only the 2 PDFs for the Stormlight book: the Stormlight Handbook, which is the RPG book, and the Stormlight World Guide, which is basically the guide to the world, plus some other stuff that might be useful to you. If you want to go in, get a reader, 2 hardcover books is going to run you $95. All the hardcover books, including some supporting deck materials for reminder cards for abilities and so on, and a set of dice, is going to run you $195. The GM's guide, which includes the screen, the adventure they're running, the Mistborn adventure. So we're talking 6 hardcover books here. That's going to run you plus the GMC is going to run you $295, and the collector's edition is everything in the GM plus some liquid core dice, so they get the floaty things in the middle of them, and a miniature set for the Stormlight Archive. And there's more add-ons if you want. You can go in and you can be like, let's throw in basically a digital-only set for $150, which is every book's a PDF, and enhanced digital format for Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds, so you can play online. On top of that, they've announced that they're going to do a Foundry mod as it was the most requested. So great news there for me. So we're talking, this is significant amounts of cash. Really, really significant amounts of cash going up. But, I mean, I can't say it's necessarily wrong. We're talking basically 35 to 50 per book. That's industry standard, guys. That's what you're paying for. But the big question is, so what's the game like? Is this just another, I'm seeing, people mentioning D20. Is this just 5th Ed? Now, you know me. I hate 5th Ed. I will never miss an opportunity to bag on 5th Ed. And a lot of people made the first assumption it was going to be 5th Ed. And my initial thing was, it's probably going to be 5th Ed. Let's take a look. It's not 5th Ed. Now, is it heavily 5th Ed influenced? Actually, not really. It is a D20 game, but it's got a lot more in common with a variety of different other RPGs than just 5th Ed. Now, you're rolling a D20, you're adding a bonus to that roll, you're trying to hit a target number, you've got hit points. You'd be like, that's sounding pretty 5th Ed. And I said, yeah, absolutely. But that's one aspect of the game. Is it a really narrative-heavy game? The previous iteration, of Brandon Sanderson RPG was the Mistborn RPGs, which were kind of tried to lean quite heavily in sort of a narrative thing. Is this a really narrative RPG? No. This is a lot closer to a traditional RPG. So is this just 5th Ed? Not quite. I've dug in. I've read through the rules, which is, if you are on the Kickstarter, you can get access to, even on the Kickstarter, you can just go and check if you want. Drive-Thru RPG has the rules, the basic kind of 80-page PDF outlining the core rules. It doesn't have the advancement rules, doesn't have the other, basically, talent trees and stuff, but it has, we'll talk about talent trees now in a second, but it has the kind of the core of the game. And if you go on and create a demi-plane account, which is a digital RPG character creator and an offering, that one there has the rules for the character creation. You actually create a character in there. Now, again, not all the options, but you get to pick one of the 6 starting paths, and you can add on another path later on. You can add on basically either the kind of Windrunner or Lightweaver paths. So, cool. This isn't exactly D20. Now, it's got levels. All right. It's got hit points. It's got 6 stats, but they're not the same 6 stats. And it's got rolling D20s. Doesn't sound pretty like 5th Ed on. It's not, though. It's not exactly. Like, it is certainly 5th Ed, a lot of 5th Ed DNA in there. But one of the things about this RPG is it's actually stealing or borrowing, depending on how you look at it, from a range of different RPGs. I had a look through this thing, and I looked through the system and looked through some of the other bits of it. It's stealing some stuff from 4th edition D&D. It's stealing some stuff from 5th edition D&D. It's stealing some stuff from Pathfinder 2nd edition. It's stealing some stuff from Woofrup. It's stealing some stuff from Blades in the Dark. It's stealing some stuff from Genesis. It's stealing some stuff from Shadow of the Demon Lord. This is, and if you look at the creative team attached, this is a sizable creative team, and you look through it, you will notice that they've taken from a lot of old FFG RPG people, and they've kind of run through and picked up people with a lot of experience across the industry, and they're putting together effectively a kind of a team that has a lot of experience. This isn't just D&D people. Their lead designer is a guy called Andrew Fisher, who he did a lot of development work on the Star Wars RPG, the 40k RPG, Fallout, and he did some stuff on Manchester Madness 2nd Edition, Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth, Descent Legend of the Dark, and most recently he designed Earthborn Rangers. And Earthborn Rangers is a Arkham horror-based living card game which has a big environmental focus, and it's a very cool little game. Actually, it's a lot. I played it. It's a lot of fun. So this has a pedigree of a bunch of different RPG people, and if you're asking about fidelity to the canon, I mean, Brandon Sanderson is a team of people for this. He's got kind of 4 people as part of the Dragonsteel system, which is their job is monitor the narrative, monitor the continuity, basically assist in the art direction, so that everything looks and matches up to his story system. And he's basically got world singers who are 6 people who keep track of the canon, keep track of everything else, and make sure that, you know, everything fits into his plan. So you're going to have, the writing here is going to be putting Brandon Sanderson's stuff accurately on the page. I would say there's going to be very little opportunities to divert things and introduce new elements, you know, into his canon. But that's, you know, that should be interesting. But let's talk back about the RPG. All right. So it's D20 based. However, and I'm going to be saying however a lot, when you make a test, you get to roll a D20. However, if the test is important enough or the GM wants to raise the stakes a little bit, he can ask you to roll a plot die. And while the D20 is a D20, it's 20-sided, number to 20, the plot die is a D6. And it's got 2 positive sides, 2 negative sides, and 2 blank sides. And what they do is they effectively add more or less ands and buts to rolls. So if I roll and I succeed, but I roll a complication on my plot die, I succeed, but maybe something else bad happens. Maybe a piece of gear breaks, or maybe my enemies get an opening, or maybe something that I'm trying to get done ahead of it gets a bit closer. That's an idea that's been taken from a lot of different games, but it was mostly expressed heavily in Genesis, the RPG, or also known as the FFG family of RPGs, which included the Star Wars RPGs they did, where there was kind of an opportunities and, you know, advantages and disadvantages lead to new opportunities and complications. And that's what the plot die does. So it has advantage. Much like D&D, advantage. But this one is actually closer to Shadow Demon Lords in one way. So if you have advantages and disadvantages, if I have one advantage, I can pick either my D20 roll to roll an additional one and pick the highest one, or I can pick an additional plot die and roll 1d20 and 2 plot dice. Or I can pick one of my damage dice and go, okay, I'm rolling 2d8 in this, I'm actually going to roll 2d8 and additional d8, I'm going to pick the highest one. So, what's nice is, if you get 2 points of advantage, you get to pick 2 of those dice and go, okay, I'm going to roll an extra d20 and I'm going to roll an extra plot die. So it's not quite just advantage and disadvantage from D20. It's a little more expansive, and it's a little more granular, which is nice. There's also 2 numbers in the bad side of the complication. There's a 2 and a 4. Basically, whether it was originally 1 or originally 2. Haven't seen much that interacts with them, but I can smell something coming. But I haven't seen much in the core that interacts with them. But there's definitely something happening there with that. So, already we're going a little away from just being straight 5th ed. Now, the stats. Well, the stats are at least worth one. There's 6 of them. You've got strength and speed, which are rated between 0 and 9. And a character basically starts with, from character creation will go up to 3. And I don't think it's realistic for a character to get more than about probably 6 by the end of advancement, level 20-ish. I'd have to see for sure because I don't have the full level and thing, but I wouldn't say you're going to get hugely above that, maybe 7 if everything went into them. But they're between 0 and 9, and the cap at starting characters is 3. You add your strength and your speed together to plus 10, and you get your physical defense. So if someone's trying to attack you with a physical weapon, they're trying to roll d20 plus number and get 15 or more. That's your physical defense. Then you have your cognitive defense, which is based on your intellect plus willpower. So you got strength, speed, intellect, willpower. Add intellect and willpower together, plus 10, you get your cognitive defense, which is used to defend against kind of social pressure. Then lastly, you have your awareness and presence. So this is your spiritual defense. So you add awareness plus presence together, plus 10, and you get your spiritual defense, which is used against some kinds of kind of spiritual or not quite psychic, but sort of psychic attacks. So, 6 stats. Strength and speed, kind of strength and dex. Intellect, kind of int. Willpower, I guess, is wisdom. Awareness, though, is also kind of wisdom. And presence is kind of charisma. So, in reality, it's slightly different mix. But the fact that each of them combines together to affect one of your defenses means, you don't want to totally physically dump physical. Even if you're not a very physically inclined character, totally dump physical is going to end up with a defense of 10, which is quite easy to hit. You will additionally have derived characteristics of health, which is hit points. Focus, which is a resource you spend in combat mostly, but is also your reserves of mental strength. It's kind of your mental hit points. And investiture. Now, not everyone has investiture. Investiture is magic. Alright. Additionally, armor does not increase your AC. Armor provides what's called deflection. And what deflection does is deflection reduces damage. So, it's a little similar to 5th ed, but there's also some 4th ed in there with the defenses being marked in. There's no save per se automatically. There are things that can give you kind of saves, but most of the time you're not making any standard saves here. So we got hit points, we got stats, and we got 3 different defenses rather than having a set of saves. Alright, now, after this, you have, for each set of 2 stats, you have 6 skills. And they're split not quite evenly, but nearly evenly between each one. So, strength gets athletics and heavy weapons. Agility gets speed gets agility, light weapons, stealth, and thievery. And what those do is those are marked between 1 and 5, and starting characters can't have higher than 2 in those ones. And what they do is when you're making a test with heavy weapons, say your strength is 3 and your heavy weapons is 2, so you roll 5 plus d20 to try and hit your target number. So, not quite d20 again. A little closer, like the 5 dots might have you flashing back to the bad old days of White Wolf. But there it is. And you're adding those 2 together. That becomes your bonus. You roll against your 20. So you're going to have a little more variability based on where your stuff is invested. So certain things you might be like, oh man, I should have 1 of strength or speed good, even if my character isn't very well inclined. So I still have a decent attack, and so that I still have my defenses and total crap. Intellect and willpower. Int gets crafting, deduction, lore, and medicine. Willpower gets discipline and intimidation. And in spiritual, awareness gets insight, which is people, perception, which is stuff, and survival, which is survival, finding food and such. And presence gets deception, leadership, and persuasion. 2 of your kind of nice social skills, as opposed to intimidate, which is the rough one, which is done off will. So you've got these different skills, and they're going to be at the start between 0 and 2, and they're capped at 2 for a bit level wise, and then the cap goes up to 3, and then 4, and then 5 as you go up in tiers of play. You've got lifting capacity, you've got movement, you've got a recovery die, and a recovery die is, hey, when I rest, I get this many hit points back. Fair enough, a little bit hit dice, but it's not effectively exhausted by doing it. You just get the thing. You get the thing back. You have expertises as well, and expertises are kind of what languages you speak, and can you use the expert trait on a weapon if you have the weapons expertise. And then, as you level up, you get talents. And talents are quite a lot like Genesis's talent trees, where what happens is you go into a tree and there's literally a line of abilities down you can buy. And this one, as you level up, every time you level up, you get a new talent. So you can just keep selecting talents. So some of them will have a stat prerequisite or will have a skill prerequisite, but you can plan out your route down to your talents. Initially, there are 6 paths you can take, like warrior, commander, scholar, agent, hunter, and artisan. And as you go along, you can go into other trees. Now, at the moment, we see the 6 core ones. But if you know the Stormlight Archive, there are Knights Radiant trees as well you can get into if you go down that aspect of your character. And because this is going to be a Cosmere RPG, there are going to be trees for Mistings as well, for Mistborn, for Ferrochemists, for Elantrians, for World Hoppers. So if you know your Sanderson, you're oh. So this is going to be the base system that they all operate off. And once you get in the tree and you start going down, you get to pick up some abilities immediately, and you can enhance your abilities going down the tree. So initially you go in and you're like, if you're a basically Windrunner, you'll get the basic adhesion and gravitation surges, the base abilities. Now you get some skill points in that because they're a skill as well, and they go up as long as you keep spending stuff. So that's pretty cool. Again, very Genesis. So again, it's not like D&D leveling up. When you level up in this, you initially get additional 5 health, you get 2 skill points and a talent. And as you get up in tiers, the amount of health you get starts going down a little bit. So it's a bit like AD&D actually, where you got most of your hit points in your early levels, and then you just started getting a small amount of extra HP every time you leveled up. See, people get tougher as they get higher level, but they don't it doesn't continue in basically a straight line of just getting, no, I get 10 every level, 10 every level. No, it tailors off a little bit. Starting character has 12 stats, 12 stat points, so you can have your stats between 0 and 3. They have 4 skills, they have 1 path, and they get some expertises, which are, again, languages. Occasionally, it also means you're aware of the lore of the place, so you can make lore skill tests about them. So if I speak Alethi, one of the main languages in it, I also can attempt lore tests about Alethi culture. And you can know about obscure stuff as well, like, artifabrial creation or history and that kind of stuff. So you can know weird stuff as well. Now, combat. Combat steals liberally from Pathfinder 2nd Edition and Shadow of the Demon Lord. Like Pathfinder 2nd Edition, your character has 2 to 3 actions and a reaction on his turn. I said 2 to 3 now. Why is that going to vary? Well, it's going to vary based on something from Shadow of the Demon turn. You can take a fast turn or a slow turn. If you take a fast turn, you get 2 actions and you act first. Take a slow turn, you get 3 actions, but you act second. So the way it goes is all of the players doing a fast turn go first, then all of the bad guys doing a fast turn go, then all the players doing a slow turn, then all the bad guys doing a slow turn. So you can have 3 actions, but it's going to cost you. You're going second. Which might be worth it, might not be. It depends, which is always good. Always good in the game. You've got all of a sudden, when you want to attack, you go, okay, I'm going to attack my long spear. That's a heavy weapon. It's doing 1d8 plus my skill damage. So I have 3 strength, I have 2 in heavy weapons. It's plus 5 versus physical defense, and it does 1d8 plus 5 keen damage. Keen is basically slashing. Slashing slash piercing. And I can attack with that. I roll a d20, and I add my 5. And if I hit or exceed physical defense I hit, I do that much damage. And that damage is reduced by the person's deflect, which is usually based on. Cool. You can make 1 attack per weapon per turn. So it's only costs you 1 action to attack, but if I just go, okay, I poke you for attack, what else do you do then? None? I'm out of weapons. So you can have a second weapon. You can wield 2 weapons. You dual wielder. Oh, awesome. But generally, dice are lower, number 1. And number 2, you have to spend focus to make a second attack. Now, as you go down the talent tree, that reduces the focus cost for you. It makes it easier to make 2 attacks with a weapon. But just to start off with, you're like, okay, I just make 1 attack. What else am I doing with my actions? Well, there's tons of additional support and assistance actions available to you. There's basically, you can use your skills to get a kind of tactical advantage, and that gives you advantage on your next roll. So innately, they've built in ways to go, okay, I get 2 actions, cool, I get 3 actions, I'm going to move. Number 1, I'm going to use my knowledge tactics to spot or lore tactics to spot a hole in the guy's defenses. I make a test, I succeed, I get advantage, cool. Now I make my attack with advantage, and hey, I succeed. However, they have a couple of interesting little wrinkles in there. There's a standard focus spend called Graze. If you miss with your attack, so I miss my long spear, which does 1d8 plus 5 damage, I can graze with it. I can spend a focus to do damage equal to its dice. So ideally, when you're making an attack, you pick up your d20, you pick up your damage dice, and you roll both of them together. If your plot dice is being rolled, you roll that as well. And you go, cool. I missed, but I rolled a 7 on my d8, so I'm going to spend a focus and graze you for 7 damage. So immediately, you can kind of see, that's a little bit funky. You can manage your focus to give you less feels bad on a turn. That's pretty strong. So again, we're looking at a game which has taken ideas from 5th Ed D&D, 4th Ed D&D, even a little sprinkle from 2nd edition AD&D. You're taking stuff from Shadow of the Demon Lord and Fast Slow Turns. You're taking talent trees and kind of advantage and, well, not advantage, disadvantage, but basically opportunities and complications. That was quite common in Genesis. If you take damage, it's fine until you're out of health, or you take a crit, at which point you get a wounding hit. So you roll a critical wound. Again, a little bit of woofer up in there where you get to pick up an injury that can linger or can be permanent, depending on how bad it is. Armor's reduction rather than base the AC. This is not just a lazy 5th Ed reskin. There's a whole RPG here where they've gone through some of the best games on the market and the most popular games on the market, and they've creamed off ideas to put them together. I don't know. I haven't played it yet. And I haven't played it for an extended period of time. And I have looked at the leveling stuff, but because I'm looking at it through demi-plane, I'm not getting full. I can't see the full waft and weave of it. But it seems to me to be it's reasonably hard to like level a power stat to go, okay, I'm just going to put everything into agility and everything into light weapons, and I'm going to be, do super loads of damage. Doesn't seem to be quite the way it is. You kind of want to be increasing. You'll have main stats you want to increase more, but you're not going to be able to get them ridiculously high. And the way the roll is, you're going to get better, but your opponents, if they're also increasing their stats, are also going to get better. So it'd be interesting to see how it works. The magic system is effectively skill tests, and you have to spend investiture. Now, investiture is you can get back reasonably easily, certainly in the Stormlight Archive setting, because that's how it works. But you can use that to activate your magical talents. And like if you're a basically Windrunner with the power of adhesion, when you hit somebody, you can make their gear, if it's not invested, stick to stuff. So yeah, hit your foot, and your foot stuck to the ground. So there's a bunch of kind of narrative-ish, but also concrete combat effects tied in with the investiture. Like, for example, one of the things you can do as a Windrunner is Stormlight enhances physical capabilities. So you can spend an action as an investiture to go, I have +1 strength, +1 speed, and every round I can spend an investiture to keep that going. Now, what does that mean? It means, well, I've got effectively +1 to attack and +1 to damage from increasing that, whether I'm using light weapons or heavy weapons. And I've also got +2 to my defense. So that's a really pretty chunky buff to have available to you. And there's a couple other ways as well to get those numbers up. So I'd say that there'll be a lot of characters going, I'm going to go 3-2. If I want to put 5 of my 12 points into my starting physical stuff, and I'll have 15 defense. I could just go 3 strength, 2 heavy weapons, I'm going to call it a day, and I'll be a decent combatant, but I'll actually be quite easy to hit. So maybe I want to have both strength and speed and be good at that and be really hard to hit. There's a bunch of stuff like that where there's a lot of good options. Talent's going to that one. With decisive command, I can spend a focus, target an ally within 20 feet. The next time they make a test before the end of my turn, they roll my command dice with my other dice. And the command dice D4 can be added either to their D20 result or their damage die result. That's pretty sweet. A combat coordination after I take a strike action, which is attack. I can activate decisive command as a free action. If their attack did not hit, you can activate decisive command without spending focus. That's pretty cool. So you've immediately see you can go down the tree. I'm going to build a little suite of abilities for yourself there, and you've got quite exciting tactical edges. There's a lot of resource management there. Like stuff like Graze is nice because you're like, okay, I've got an ability that activates if I hit something. but graze counts as hitting. So I can be like, okay, I missed on my big ability. No problem. I'll spend a focus. I'll graze. I'll basically do damage. My damage goes through. My effect goes off. That's nice for a tactically minded player. All right. So what do I think? I think it looks good. I don't know how great it is. There is a short adventure that is playable, but the starting. It's very good for RPGs to be good at the start. It's harder for them to be good after a lot of levels play. However, they've been kind of careful about how crazy the advanced get. So it's probably going to be a broadening of capabilities more than just your numbers go way up. Like at the most, let's say you could get up to 6 or 7 strength and you got 5 heavy weapons. You're looking at now at the end game, you've got plus 11 to hit rather than plus 5. That's a lot. That's 30% more hit, but it's not crazy more. You'll still have a chance of missing if you're up against guys with chunky defenses. So yeah, I think it looks pretty good. They've got people in making kind of clever choices, and the thing is, you've got a great ability to try this one out. You can read the core rules, or like a good chunk of the core rules. You can try out the adventures. They're putting them up on Roll20, so you can actually play it online if you want. So there are a bunch of options here to try this one out before you basically commit to the significant outlay of buying it. This isn't there's no kind of simple thing. You could get the core book for $30 in Drive Thru RPG. Effectively, you're backing this at the lowest level, but I think you'd end up buying at least 2. So I think the get-in price realistically for this, if you just want the PDFs, is about $60. And I think the real get-in price is $95. Now, coming along with this one, they have announced that there's going to be a Stonewalker's adventure, which is going to take you through the initial couple of levels of being in the Stormlight Archive. And it's actually going to reveal what happened, a pretty major, well, not major, but it's a pretty important little thing. What happened to Talon's Honor Blade is that adventure. So you're going to get to go and find out about that, and if you know, you know. So that's pretty nice. They've also got a little 32-page level 0 adventure. Build your character as you play, which is another way to build your character. That's nice. It looks good. I'm in on it, but I'm soft to the Brandon Sanderson stuff, and I'm soft to the Stormlight Archive in general. Alrighty. So I've been chatting now for a little bit. I was going to cover most of an episode here, and unfortunately you just had to listen to this. But I'm in. Take a look yourself. If you can, wrangle a game with somebody. Kind of try it out, see if that's what you like. But for now, contact us on our socials, come yell at me in my Discord, whatever else like that. But for now, this party's over.
Thank you for listening to The Adventuring Party. Join us on our Discord server, where we keep the party going after hours. Otherwise, you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, or you can email the hosts at party@theadventuringparty.net. The Adventuring Party is released under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike version 3 license. But you probably knew that already. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and look forward to seeing you back here next week. Goodbye.